Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the His Own by D'Antonio podcast. My name is Mike, and today I'm going to call out ESPN for their handling of this Outside the Lines report on the Michigan State football and basketball programs and sexual assault around those two programs. Okay, there are some things that I'm just not going to take, okay, as a fan or as a consumer, okay, and if ESPN thinks this is acceptable, then it's not. Okay, the way they have reported this story it's just unacceptable, and they should be ashamed of themselves for how they have handled this investigation. Okay, and before I start, I'd just like to say this has nothing to do with the Larry Nassar case. Okay, the Larry Nassar case is sick. It is despicable, and everybody that knew just even knew a smidge of what Larry Nassar has done should be jailed, to be honest with you. They should be in jail right now. And you need to wipe clean the entire administration. Everybody needs to go. Okay, but we are not talking about Larry Nassar. We are focusing specifically on the basketball and football programs at Michigan State, specifically the two coaches, coach of the football team, Mark D'Antonio, and the coach of the basketball team, Tom Izzo. So let's get started. Okay, as I continue to read into this story, this is shameful from Outside the Lines. To connect Larry Nassar to the sexual assault allegations from both the basketball and the football programs are shameful. You have two prideful guys, two guys that are known for integrity. They preach it. Okay, and to connect them to Larry Nassar, it's ridiculous. And seriously, how could ESPN let this go out? I mean, come on. You've got to be kidding me, right? You have to be kidding me. Okay, watching that E30, you saw a picture of Larry Nassar. 2 minutes later, you see a picture of Mark D'Antonio, Tom Izzo on the football team. Okay, these are two completely different things. Okay, now we all know how heinous Larry Nassar was. Just a complete and utter disgrace for society. And thank God he's gone. Thank you. I mean, seriously. But to even paint the picture that Tom Izzo and Mark D'Antonio had anything to do with Larry Nassar, it's just it's unbelievable, and it's unacceptable. Okay? Outside the Lines and ESPN should be absolutely ashamed to even connect these two stories. And don't you find it a little bit coincidental that they announced this right after the Larry Nassar? And apparently they've been doing the investigation for years now. Why now? Why now? Right after the Larry Nassar probe, right after the Larry Nassar was put in jail. Okay, I think, to even try to connect these two, it's heinous in its own way. Okay, it's disgusting from ESPN, and it's disgusting from Outside the Lines. Okay, it's ridiculous. Okay, there's some things I can tolerate and some things I can't tolerate. This is one of the things I'm not going to tolerate. Right, let's move on. Oh, skipped over one. All right, Lauren Allsweed. Okay, she was a sexual assault counselor at Michigan State for many years. Okay, I have a couple of problems with Lauren Allsweed. Okay, she has never met Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo, and she's telling you, the viewers on ESPN, what the character of Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo are. And I just think that is unproductive. It doesn't do anything. And it's kind of sick in its own way, too. She's never met these two, okay? She's never, ever met these two. And for her to come out here and say that Mark D'Antonio and Tom Izzo are bad character people and that they've known about this stuff, I mean, come on. Another thing I have a question about for Lauren Allsweed was, if she has known all this stuff for this many years and just hasn't come out with it, why hasn't she come out with it? How come when she's learned about this stuff, she hasn't gone directly to the authorities? How come? That makes no sense to me either. All right, was she shut out from talking? Why didn't she talk to the authorities? Okay, and this really has nothing to do with the story itself. It's just something I've wondered. I mean, Lauren Allswede, what was she here for a long time at Michigan State? And she didn't say anything when she learned all this stuff. Doesn't sound a little suspicious, doesn't it? I mean, come on. You've got to be kidding me. Lauren Allswede, I mean, come on. She's the way she sounds in this outside the lines thing, she sounds like a bad person. All right, and I'm sure she's a great person just trying to do the right thing. But come on. You cannot paint D'Antonio and Izzo in bad character without even meeting them. I mean, come on. This is just another grade of stupidity from ESPN. Okay? And before I continue, I'd just like to say, once again, that I'm not talking about Larry Nassar, okay? Can we not get these confused? All right? I know ESPN's done a great job of connecting these two stories, but they are completely different. They are completely different. Larry Nassar never treated a football player. He never treated a basketball player, okay? Like that has anything to do with this, okay? Well, let's move on. This is another thing I had a big problem with ESPN in this stories. They were repackaging old stories as new. All right? Some of these stories, I mean, first one, Keith Appling's case. Remember, Keith Appling was accused of rape, and he's now in jail now. But this story had already been taken care of by the East Lansing Police Department, already taken care of by Tom Izzo himself. Another thing, the Keith Mumphrey thing. So at the end of the story, they talk about Keith Mumphrey. He was a very good receiver at Michigan State for a couple of years, led them to the playoff. And they're talking about sexual assault. Keith Mumphrey had already graduated. He had already graduated before the assault was talked about. Okay? Like Mark D'Antonio has control over somebody who's already graduated. I mean, come on. Seriously? And it's not just this. There are other stories in there where they just repackaged old things that Mark D'Antonio himself had thought were already done. And that's why D'Antonio was mad when he saw the story. I'm sure he was taken aback about why they would just bring up old stuff and say it's new. All right, this stuff had already been taken care of, and they just bring it back out. I mean, come on. And to call it a crisis at Michigan State, I mean, come on. All right, it is for the Larry Nassar case, and maybe it is for the football case, but there's no evidence so far that either D'Antonio or Izzo covered up anything. Anything with sexual assault related, okay? Izzo does have something to talk about with the Travis Walton thing. Get to that in just a second. But, I mean, come on. I have some other cases here. Donnie Corley. All right, now, so this was last year. Why is Outside the Lines talking about this? D'Antonio did the correct thing. He personally dismissed the 4 players off the team last year in 2017 who were accused of sexual assault, including Donnie Corley, who would have started in the receiving corps for Mark D'Antonio's offense. And this one, Mateen Cleaves. Some people were bringing up Mateen Cleaves' sexual assault allegations. He was accused of sexual assault decades after he left Michigan State. That is just, it's unbelievable why somebody would bring up Mateen Cleaves, who may be a bad person, but seriously, decades after he left Michigan State, you're going to bring up Mateen Cleaves? I mean, come on. Give me a break. All right, this story was poorly handled, and you can tell by my tone how I feel about Coach D'Antonio and Coach Izzo right now. All right? And ESPN. Just say that right now. Well, let's move on. Once again, the story. Shaming Coach Izzo and Coach D'Antonio's character. It's clueless. These two have preached integrity throughout their career. They preached doing it the right way, both D'Antonio and Izzo. And to have no evidence that these two did anything. I don't see any evidence to say that these two looked the other way to something or even covered up something. There was nothing in there that said D'Antonio covered up something. This is no Baylor. This is no Penn State, at least so far, okay? All right? We'll talk about if this actually happens, how I feel about it. If these two actually covered up something, I'll get to that in a second. But Coach D'Antonio, I mean, Of course he was mad in his press conference. You could tell he was mad because he never met Lauren Allsweet, and all she did was just pound him into the ground. And stuff that he thought had been taken care of years ago was coming back up in a story. I mean, come on, this has already been taken care of. In Tom Izzo's case, there's not much there on Tom Izzo. The Travis Walton thing, he definitely needs an explanation for. There's no doubt about it. But, and also the Travis Walton sexual assault after that, he was accused of raping a woman. And no charges were actually filed on him. And not only that, but there were stories that Walton had been living in his house at the time that this happened, which does not look good on Tom Izzo. We'll get to that in a second. But come on, ESPN. You got to be better than that. And the fact that the media is going along with this, it's unbelievable. Okay, I'm probably one of the only people that's going to take this route. Okay, I'm probably one of the only ones. But I have to call them out for this. Okay, you can't shame somebody else's character just because you have no facts and just because it helps your opinion in the story. Alright? I want a story with facts, not opinions. Give me the facts, I'll make my opinion off the facts, okay? I'm not going to take this BS from ESPN, as not only as a Spartan fan, okay? But everybody should be looking at this in a different light. I mean, come on. Would I be talking about this if this was Michigan? No. But guess what? I am defending my university so far, and I think I have a right to. I have a right to defend what they have done so far, all right? And I have a right to criticize ESPN's handling of this investigation. And let's move on. All right, let's talk about Mark D'Antonio's emotional press conference. So, Friday, he went on the podium, and he basically said everything that was in that report that said he mishandled something was absolutely false. And I don't blame the guy. I mean, he had probably half of the stories in there he thought had already been taken care of by either him, the Title IX office at Michigan State, or the East Lansing Police Department or the campus police. Okay? And if D'Antonio didn't believe in himself so much, why would he go out such on a limb and say that it is just completely false? Okay? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I mean, some people would say, oh, of course he would do that because, what would he say? He's guilty? No, but I mean, you looked at him. You saw what he was preaching out there on the press conference. He looked like a man who had been falsely accused of something. And, the way I'm leaning, I'm sure he is being falsely accused. Same with Tom Izzo. I mean, I'll get to the media in a second, but once again, ESPN has done a remarkably poor job. In showing this case in real light. Present the facts like a normal report. Okay? Don't give me emotions. Don't give me opinions. I'll make my own opinions. Okay? ESPN has not much evidence on this. Okay, and now ESPN's trying to say, oh, Michigan State didn't give out the athletes' names. You don't want to know why they didn't give out the athletes' names? Because all this has already been resolved already. Why would they give out the names of people if the stuff had already been resolved? It makes little to no sense. ESPN's just looking to tie this in with Larry Nassar, and I'm not sure why. All right, these are two men, Tom Izzo and Mark D'Antonio, who deserve more. They deserve a little bit of respect. And not terrible, terrible reporting by ESPN. I mean, come on. All right, let's move on to Tom's press conference. So Tom, after the Maryland game, was asked a lot of deep questions about what had gone on. And, of course, Tom couldn't talk about it. And they still forgot her name, a reporter, but she kept asking the questions about it. And, you could tell Izzo was uncomfortable. And many people are trying to tie this in. Oh, he knew something. So he has to be guilty, right? I mean, come on. Once again, evidence. I would need to see the evidence first before I can make my opinion on anything. Instead of giving me the opinions with no evidence and tell me to go along with it. I'm not going to do that. Okay? And listen, Tom Izzo has an explanation. He owes an explanation to all of us about the Travis Walton matters. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Walton should have never been coaching with MSU, and especially if the reports are true that he was living with Izzo at the time. Izzo has an explanation on that one. There's no doubt about it. I think Izzo's in a lot more trouble than D'Antonio right now. But Izzo's not a great public speaker, and there was no doubt he was not expecting that question. Definitely caught him off guard, um, and I'm sure he panicked in the situation and gave an answer which nobody in the media accepted. So, listen, he's got to do a better job at his press conferences. There's no doubt about it. If the allegations are false on him, he's got to make it seem like they're false on him. He can't just sit there with a blank face and look scared. All right. So let's move on again. So the Michigan Attorneys General has launched their own investigation. Yes, a real investigation into the Michigan State program. Every Spartan fan welcomes this. I welcome this. Okay? Go everywhere. All right? I know it's focused on the Larry Nassar case, but they're also going to do things on the sexual assault allegations front as well. All right? So yes, the Michigan Attorney General, get rid of criminal charges, get rid of everybody that knew anything about Larry Nassar. There's no doubt about it. They should be gone for life. It's despicable he was allowed to stay around for this long, and the university did an investigation of their own and cleared him in 2014, which is absolutely despicable. Okay, but once again, we're talking about the sexual assault allegations. If it was found that D'Antonio and Izzo look the other way, there's no doubt they should be gone, and you need to burn the whole place down. Burn the whole program down. There's no doubt about it. I'll get to that in a second. But every Spartan fan welcomes this investigation. We want to get to the bottom of our program. All right? Is this really as toxic as ESPN has made it out to be? That is really the question. All right? And not toxic in the amount of sexual assaults. Toxic as in they didn't do their job. Coaches didn't do their jobs. All right? We already know administration didn't do their jobs. So that is what I'm wondering. I'm ready to hear about. And really, the NCAA, right, I don't want to talk about that right now because none of the evidence is out about the NCAA at all. That should be on the back burner, to be honest. Nobody should really be caring about that right about now. It's more about the criminal investigation into Larry Nassar, all right, in this flawed report from ESPN. All right. So if either man covered up anything, every Spartan fan, including me, all right, I love these two to death, all right? I love these two probably more than anybody else on the planet. If they were found to cover up anything, they need to be gone. There's no doubt about it. All right, they need to be fired, and I'd be the first one to say it. They would need to be fired, get out of there, if they were found to know anything about sexual assault. They look the other way. Right now, the evidence says no. This evidence says they didn't know anything. Either they didn't know anything or it was all taken care of. All right? And this is, once again, any investigation into this matter needs to be thorough. ESPN did not do a thorough investigation. They did a poor job with this investigation. And I hope the Michigan Attorney General turns everything over. Turns every little book over and sees what's under it. Make sure nothing is left unturned. Everything needs to be investigated in this case. There's no doubt about it. Okay? And if these two if these two covered up anything, they both need to be gone. They need to be gone, and they need to be hated. To be honest with you, they need to be hated for what they did. But again, that is only if they covered up anything. So now the media. Now everybody in the media is misconstruing this completely. Completely. They look at the report and they say, oh, wow, look at this. Look at all this stuff that's going on. Look at Lauren Allsweed. but they do not know, or they just don't have the experience about what has gone on in East Lansing in the past and what stuff has already been taken care of by the school, by the athletics, by the East Lansing Police Department, by the campus police department. All right, to say this is Baylor it's reckless. It's reckless, and it's borderline ridiculous. No, it is ridiculous because Baylor, you had coaches intimidating victims, and said if they told anybody, then they would be hurt, all right, or something bad would happen. You had Coach Art Briles completely looking the other way to everything, all right? And until the evidence comes out, this is not Penn State or Baylor, okay? Now, the Larry Nassar case, this is worse than Penn State. Oh, there's no doubt about it. But I'm talking about the football and basketball programs in this episode. Again, the football and basketball programs. All right, if it is found Antonio has covered something up, if it is found that Izzo covered something up, ship them off to China. I don't care. All right, they need to be gone. But I am standing by them right now because everybody is blasting them for what they've done, and it is completely undeserved. It is completely ridiculous. Do they get any respect for what they've done? Any respect for the integrity of each man? I mean, this is unbelievable how nobody could look into this investigation and find the holes that are everywhere in this investigation. All right? It's not just me. Other people are saying this too. All right? And if they say this, they're being told, oh, this person's defending Michigan State and what they did. No, I'm not defending it. I am blasting the investigation. And I may be defending the character of the two coaches and probably the two favorite coaches I've been accustomed to. Guys who have history of beating Michigan, guys who have taken Michigan State to a place they've never been before in sports. That's to relevancy in the national stage. Okay? But once again, if they are found to have covered something up, they need to be gone. All right, I'll say it again because I'm sure I'm getting misconstrued like a lot of people. So, all right, that is going to be it for this episode of the Is Owned by D'Antonio podcast. I don't usually upload on Monday, but I had a lot of things on my mind. So thank you everybody for watching. Episode for me. Thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.